skilled trade and apprenticeship is for everyone, as long as you fit in between the 17 to 25 demographic, right? What if you are considering a skilled trade in your late 30s, maybe even early 40s? It could be your second, it could be your third career. Well, let's talk about it. My guest today has over 20 years experience in the financial industry and in auto sales. And right around the start of the pandemic, he made a transition into working in the skilled trades. I'd like to welcome to the show today my guest, Tomasz. Thanks for being on the show today, Tomasz. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Nick, and go Knights go.
When this gets released, this video will be a couple weeks old, so we're still hoping that the Knights are in the playoffs when this goes live. And as a bonus this week, usually I do the cooking on this show, but Tomasz's girlfriend, Anna, made some, why don't you describe what it is actually?
Well, we call it the 3x3 banana power loaf. It's a banana bread with an addition of protein for a healthier, less fattening meal.
Excellent. And Tomasz brought this by today because him and I were chatting prior to the interview about how I was looking to change some of my lifestyle habits. So this is going to be an excellent treat rather than a lot of the desserts and smoked foods that I make on the show every week. So thank you, Tomasz, and thank you, Anna. Before we discuss your current situation working in the trades themselves, I'm wondering if you could discuss your career path to date that I've highlighted earlier. What other jobs did you have prior to entering the trades?
Well, great question. I've been working since the age of 8 in Europe before immigrating to Canada via Italy. We arrived in 1990, but I've always worked side by side with my parents. We had a carnation growing business, so some farming experience there. Then worked as a squeegee kid from 10 to 11 years old. And then arrived in Canada, had a first paper route with Penny Saver. A lot of work, the whole family was involved for very little pay. Well, that soon ended. Worked for McDonald's and went off to university and started working for the bank. I put in almost 20 years there and then transitioned to auto sales, which was a natural fit because, cars, numbers, making it all sense, help the payments go through, get the approvals in. And Toyota and Lexus has been a great product to be associated with. Honestly, I was just a humble host, showcasing the great features and helping numbers make sense to people because Toyota cars, honestly, they sell themselves.
Let's talk about what you're doing right now. You highlighted it in the beginning when we were talking that you jumped into the trades. You made a transition into working into the trades and skilled labor prior to the pandemic. What are you doing right now and what are some of the experiences that you've had?
Absolutely. So just as the pandemic struck, the dealerships were closed. Everybody else was too, just baking, perfecting recipes at home and doing not much, but buildings still needed to be built. So I went out and got my hands dirty in working in residential and commercial construction. So progressed, to work as a equipment operator, telehandler, forklift, skid steer, elevated platforms. Got my certification, and then I acquired other skill sets, which kind of made it more of a skilled labor position, and that's what I'm currently in. One of the reasons I signed up was to kind of do my also research. Well, which sort of trade would I be interested in pursuing later? And so I could find out, which profession fits my personality and my existing skill set as well. That's why I identified electrical apprenticeship would best fit based on past experience way back in high school. Should have done it way earlier, and also that's where my interests lie as well.
Right. But we see it time and time again, and this is specifically why I wanted to highlight you on the show this week, is that there is no wrong time to jump into a skilled trade. We see people as early as 17 getting into them. As of next year, it's going to be as early as 16 with the new curriculum changes.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen men and women 40 years old jumping into the trades. So
That's me.
it's never too late. Now, you highlighted that you have a passion for electrical, and that's a path that you want to take in the near future. And I find that choice of career kind of peculiar, not peculiar, but maybe interesting, because you're an avid car enthusiast and you love your Volvos, and you have had so much prior experience working in auto sales.
Yeah.
What exactly about electrical has pulled you into that pursuance rather than saying being a automotive technician?
Great question, Nick. And honestly, I was really fortunate to go to John Paul II secondary, and they have an amazing tech program. Teachers that were there, my original interest was industrial design, drafting, that sort of thing, and architecture. But I also took electrical, woodworking shop, and lathe and tool and die making as well.
Okay.
So they had a little bit of everything. It was the best course I ever had. Was 4 weeks in each, giving you exposure so you could kind of decide what you'd be interested in. Well, one of the teachers that took to me, his name is Mr. Clark. He's since retired, ironically, and coincidentally, maybe he bought a Toyota Tundra, a 2023, not from me, but he's very happy with the truck. And at the time, Mr. Clark was teaching also a night course at Fanshawe College, and he asked me to audit one of his courses, which was PLC programming. PLCs are programmable logic controllers, which is a fancy word for industrial strength laptops. This is over 20 years ago. At the time when laptops and computers memory was very expensive, so these things were, bulletproof, military grade type applications for use in the industry and so forth, to run elevators, to run car washes and so forth. So one of the projects in it, I was just, a 16-year-old student that would go in at night and spending time with older students there, but I don't know how, but I guess I lucked out and I got the highest grade for that class while auditing it. And the standout design was design a car wash system, and really liked that. And then, like I said, I pursued going to university. Wasn't quite for me. I'm not very good at just sitting down on my butt. I'm a person of action. I need to stand up. I need to move. The more these hands move, they say idle hands are the devil's workshop.
That's
so
right.
This could not be any more true for myself. So I learned by doing, and I enjoy working on cars on the weekends, where it's more of a hobby thing. Love my Volvos, love the older style Mercedes, but honestly, I don't know what's going to happen in 20, 30 years with the electrification of vehicles as well.
Right.
So, the Teslas, the GM, other EVs, that's where the trend is going. I'd love to combine, again, automotive, electrical, whether it be, where the next wave would be.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, yeah, for sure. And that's the thing about a skilled trade. There's a lot of these trades are the skills transfer between the trades themselves is highly fluid. So Definitely, you could still be working in electrical, and you could still pursue some pathway in the automotive sector down the road,
Sure.
right? You just celebrated a birthday, and I'm wondering if you are comfortable sharing your age and why exactly at this point in your life you decided to make this kind of career transition into a trade.
Yeah. So I'm a young at heart 46-year-old.
Yeah.
I'm still learning, which is what I really love. But I also love taking pride in the work I do. So what I mean by that is, dealing with numbers and so forth, or in automotive sales, I would drive around, driving my daughter to activities or to school. I'd point out the cars I sold. Same thing with the buildings and the projects and everything else. I mean, it's there's a sense of pride in just pointing out the buildings that you worked on to your kids. They might not register yet, but it gives me a tremendous sense of pride of kind of being able to talk about it, and I really enjoy doing that.
Now, I've mentioned on the show previously how maintaining your physical fitness is a vital part in sustaining a career in the trades. You're a bit of a health nut. So I'm wondering, and as you mentioned, you're a young at heart 46-year-old. You might be in better physical fitness than a lot of 20-year-olds getting into the trades. I wonder if you could share some tips to success.
Absolutely. So the older I get, I have found that completing 10,000 steps a day, it's kind of a benchmark, but it's there for a reason. I look at my cell phone or I look at my smartwatch and it tells me I completed 10,000 steps. It's a sense of accomplishment. Number one, you give yourself a goal. Number two, I feel better that day that I did. There will be other days when I'm like, don't feel so good, and feel a little bit groggy or something. I'll look at the steps and it'll only say 6,700. So it's just that little thing. So as you know, we've been walking for thousands of years through the evolutionary process. I think that's the key. You don't have to really, lift all the heavy stuff, or you don't have to, have the most sculpted physique or anything. But just I'm in it for the long run. Life is a marathon. My goal is to make it to 100, maybe 101, maybe 99. But with God's grace, we'll see how that goes. But in the meantime, just again, as body parts break down and so forth, just taking better care of yourself. But one of the things that I have found as I get older is, it was a bit of a shock to me, is that you cannot out-exercise your fork. So no matter how much time you spend in the gym, if the diet component isn't there, you can, again, lose a lot of body fat by consuming either less, making smarter food decisions. This banana bread that Anna made, we call it the 3x3 power banana loaf. Why? Because it's got 3 main components. There are 3x3, so 9 steps to bake it. And every day we'll have half a one with 2 eggs on top, and that carries me through the lunch. Ever since doing that, little by little, I have found cutting back a few calories, it adds up. 500 calories less per day, it'll help you lose a pound of body fat per week. Over a 2-month span, you're down 10 pounds. You feel lighter, your knees don't hurt so much, and you feel better. Same thing with beverages. I mean, I know you like your beer. I love my beer.
Yeah, I do.
And especially in the summertime when it's hot outside, you're mowing your lawn, you're doing, tinkering around the car, doing some maintenance, or, nothing like washing your car and then polishing and shining it all up and having a Coors Light or something of that nature. Isn't it great? But those calories, they do add up.
Yeah.
Instead, I've just found, tricking the mind a little bit. Instead of having a beer, I'll have a Coke Zero. This is 200 calories versus 0 calories. Your body doesn't really know much, but over time they do add up, and just those taking little steps, they make a huge difference.
The smell wafting off this is phenomenal.
I think you should try.
Yeah, I think we should try a piece.
All right, grab a slice there, brother.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
It's super warm still.
Baked this morning.
It's delicious. I wish more of my guests would bring food on so I didn't have to cook.
Well, I did bring the recipe as well, and if you want to post it for your viewers, feel free to try it at home. All the steps are there, and leave a comment of let us know what you think.
That's a good point. I'm going to post the recipe at the end of this video. Are you at all concerned with the idea of entering the trades too late? Or are you concerned with the potential of one day going to trade school with men and women that are in their very early 20s or late teens?
Nick, I got to be honest with you, the thought did cross my mind. But looking back at what I've done to date, I went to Fanshawe for accounting when I was 26 years old. I was already there with students that were 17, 18 years old. We got along fine. In fact, we forged some really good friendships along the way with both students and teachers. Right now, as a 46-year-old parent, I'm kind of in this. You might as well be in a bit of a sandwich generation. We're right in the middle. During the pandemic, we were teaching our parents how to operate a printer at home, and also our kids how to operate a printer at home.
Right.
So fitting in, it's part of the evolutionary process. Then again, having respect for the elders and the youth, because they are our future. They'll be paying our pension
Right.
and our CPP and so forth in the future as well. So we need them on board with us as well, instead of getting all generational, saying, hey, boomer, or generation this. We're in this boat together.
Right.
And the only way to get across this big old ocean, not to get too philosophical, is work together. In unison. Some might roll faster than others, but in the end, we're in it together.
There's another man or woman watching today that might be at the same crossroads in their career as you were a few years ago. I'm wondering what advice you'd give to them about making a transition into working into skilled labor and skilled trades.
Great question, Nick. A lot of people might be hesitant, and I'm not here to tell them to take the jump or don't take the jump. But one of the great things when working for Toyota, there was we went to the headquarters, and there was a gentleman there. He was a retired professor, psychology. Well, we administered like a personality trait test. It's also called like a Briggs and Myers type of thing. A lot of guidance counselors I hear now, they're offering it in high school. Well, I never took the time to do any of that while in high school because I was busy playing sports and working at McDonald's and doing other things.
Right.
Just being a teenager.
Yeah.
But I think an hour or two just doing that research, I would have found that, based on my personality, these are my preferences. I should have been a person, my personality trait was, I think, gold, yellow gold type of thing, which makes it, a person of action versus, somebody just sitting at a desk and crunching numbers type of thing. So, going to accounting, bit of a wasted opportunity for me because it did not, the grades were there, but I was really miserable. I sat at my desk, I put on a few pounds, and so instead, just getting to know yourself first, and if that particular job that you're considering or that particular skill, trade that you're considering, just do some research on it. It will help to avoid a lot of pain down the road.
We've all seen and heard the work that Minister of Labour Monty McNaughton has been doing over the last 4.5 years to promote the trades, to break the stigmas and stereotypes, and to really highlight how lucrative and rewarding these opportunities are. I'm wondering if any of that played into your decision to make a transition into working into the skilled trades?
Good question, Nick. And what I like about it is just making students or prospective employees of the future just aware that there are multiple paths. Had there been somebody that told me, Thomas, maybe the university path isn't for you. I went to Western. I flunked out after 2 years because Western is a party school. Working in bars and going to school, it just didn't gel with me. So working hands-on, far more rewarding. There is, might sound cliche, but dirty hands, clean money, and clear conscience. There's something about it, very fulfilling, makes it easy to sleep at night.
Right.
And I've experienced it since, just working in construction with my hands. So again, considering it an option, educating people that these are the different ways, and what's being put out that makes people aware. Well, this is another alternative.
Right.
And especially just making people aware that, listen, we are suffering a shortage of skilled workers, bricklayers, HVAC, whether it be plumbers. We got people that are retiring and they're not being replaced.
That's right.
Yet we have got a slew of social workers that cannot find work in their field because there's no demand for it. So there's only an X amount of jobs, and we need to balance that out.
Right.
So taking a smart approach, analytical approach, I think it's going to bear fruit for both the welfare of our country, our province, and the citizens in it.
That's true. The projected numbers show that 1 in 5 jobs by 2026 are going to be in the skilled trades. And we have a shortage of about 100,000 tradespeople in that time. So the jobs are going to be there, right? They're available, and they're really easy to get into. And that's what Montemagnon does a lot of highlighting on, is how easy it is to get into a trade, how rewarding they are, and the opportunities that are out there. And Skilled Trades Ontario, the new agency representing trades here in Ontario, likes to highlight that there is opportunity in every skill. And what you're learning right now are very transferable skills that will apply to whatever you take in the next steps of your life. What do you think your biggest hurdle will be while trying to pursue a career in the skilled trades?
I think getting the decision makers or the hiring personnel to convince them and showcase the fact that, even though at 46 I still have got lots of juice and lots of heart and still willing to learn. All it takes, and even with the incoming legal immigrants, people are just looking for a shot. All it takes is one.
How difficult was it to obtain information about the skilled trades? For youth, there are so many opportunities presented in the way of the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program, trade boot camps for young youth, different co-op placements or training organizations that are willing to jump in and be involved. But as an adult, how did you find the information in terms of getting into a skilled trade, or has that actually been very difficult for you?
So it's an awesome question to ask, and I gotta be honest with you, it wasn't as easy for me because I did not have the support of guidance counselors at school. But right now we have this thing called the internet, and you just go to Google, type in, Skilled Trades Ontario, and it'll give you a few connections. Fanshawe has got some guidance counselors for both alumni, and it's a free service that they do provide that they'll get you connected as well. You can get your resume printed off. I have not had to make a resume for the past 15 plus years. But when applying to one, I had somebody to do a courtesy review of it, cross out a whole bunch of words that didn't mean much at all, and recommended adding a few. So there are, you just have to ask.
Right.
I think just breaking the barrier of not asking is it's held me back a few times as well.
Right.
Thinking that either I already know the answer or just get a second opinion,
Yeah.
and that will be very, very helpful to others as well.
I don't think your struggle is unique in that sense, where it was kind of difficult to get started and get that information, because there really isn't, in my opinion, enough exposure for adults or people looking for second careers to get into the skilled trades. There are countless opportunities for young people. There's boot camps that are geared towards young kids who are still in high school or recently removed from high school. But when you're talking about being in your early 30s, your late 20s, your early 40s, and you're considering these options, there really isn't a lot of information out there. So yeah, you can go on the internet and punch in Skilled Trades Ontario, which I've highlighted as our new government agency. But just those three words, punch in Google, will give you tons of options between Skilled Trades Ontario, Skills Ontario. It'll give you links to post-secondary institutions like you mentioned, like Fanshawe or St. Clair College. So yeah, it's something that definitely needs a little bit more work, I think. We need to start highlighting options for an older generation of workers that are wanting to consider the trades. But I'm glad that you've taken that leap and you've did the homework and you're getting the support that you need. You know what I almost forgot to do was to give this banana loaf a rating. It's hard to tell us at home how delicious it is, so I'll help you right now. Ah! It's so moist and delicious. Anna, you're a hell of a cook. So I'd like to thank Tomasz for stopping by the show today. Someone who's decided to choose a second career a little bit later in life, and he's finally getting a start in the skilled trades. And I wish you all the best, Tomasz, in your new journey. And I have no doubt in my mind that you are going to excel at whatever you choose. So thank you for being on the show today. It's been an absolute pleasure sharing your journey.
Well, Nick, thank you very much. I appreciate you hosting and enjoy the bread and your future career path as well. And remember, friends, start hungry, stay handy, and go Knights, go.
Catch you in the next one.